guys, welcome to my channel. My name is Pristine Black, and today we're going to be checking out a new movie by Matt Rife called Don't Suck. So the movie was written by Rick D'Elia and directed by R.J. Collins. It stars Jamie Kennedy as Pete, a washed-up road comic with a drinking problem, and Matt Rife as Ethan, a 400-year-old vampire who for some reason at this point in his life has decided that he wants to become a comedian. So we follow Pete as he shows Ethan the ropes of what it is like to be a road comic and a comedian in general, even though he's not particularly the best at it. So we all probably know who Jamie Kennedy is. He's best known for his roles in The Son of the Mask, Malibu's Most Wanted, and my personal favorite, The Jamie Kennedy Experience. I watched this show every day. Well, not every day, every weekend while it was on TV. I love that show. I personally had never heard of Matt Rife until I saw his crowd work on TikTok last year. He got super popular. It started popping up. I thought he was funny. I liked a few. But I had never seen him in anything else. After that, I looked him up and I saw some of the clips he did from Wilding Out, but that's everything I've actually seen him in. So I haven't seen any of his actual acting work. I know he's actually done movies and stuff. So if you're as chronically online as I am, you probably already know about the controversy surrounding Matt Rife, or the controversy really, because it really wasn't that big of a deal, but a lot of people I feel like blew it out of proportion. So basically, he got famous from his crowd work, as I said, but most of the people who were liking his posts and following him were women. People found him attractive. He's worked very hard to be attractive, so I understand that. And because of all the popularity and the hype around him, he got a new stand-up special. And the stand-up special, the first opening joke was a bit misogynistic, or it was said to be a bit misogynistic. I did watch it. It was a little bit misogynistic. I just really didn't think it was funny. So this is coming from a girl who used to unironically watch The Man Show. I don't really care if something is offensive, even to myself, but as long as it's funny. If you're a comic, you have one job, and that's to be funny. If you can't do that, you've lost me. And unfortunately, that is the main problem with this movie. It's just not funny. I think I chuckled maybe twice during the whole thing. A lot of the jokes just fall flat for me, and some of them don't even make any sense. There are a lot of talented and legendary comics in this movie. I'm a little disappointed it's not more funny. Based on the trailer, I knew it wasn't going to be great, but I really did think it would be better than this. So now I'm gonna get into some spoilers. So if you wanna go watch the movie and then come back, now's the time to do so, or just skip to the timestamp that's on the screen, okay? Awesome, let's get started. So the movie starts with the guys doing a gig. Jimmy JJ Walker from Good Times is the host at the bar, but we quickly cut away from that to outside the bar, and the guys are being confronted by a cowboy. This is the first bit we get of Matt Rife's accent that he's trying to do, and it sounds the most Transylvanian that it does in the whole movie.
Sir, listen. We don't want any trouble. We're very sorry.
He doesn't really keep that accent for the rest of it. He kind of just sounds like a fancy man. Like, like he's trying to sound, you know, like that old world, rich baron kind of thing, which makes sense. That's what he's playing essentially. But then we flash back to 2 weeks earlier. So now we're following Pete. Pete is going to a gig at a casino in Vegas. That's where all of this movie takes place, in Vegas. On the way to this gig, we learn that Pete apparently got in trouble. He had a little viral moment because a cashier, for some reason, couldn't take a joke.
So you're this week's comedian. Can you tell me a joke?
You want a joke?
Yes.
What's the difference between a vagina and a... You would think she would have a better sense of humor, you know?
He doesn't even get to finish the joke. But I think that's kind of the point, is that like some people are completely humorless and don't really get it and can't even get it. I get it. I get what he's trying to do. But I really do wish I could have heard the punchline to the joke, if there even is one. Okay, so then Pete gets to the green room. And finally, we get the title sequence.
Hey, I like it, Picasso.
So we start with some comics that are already on stage, a lady comic, and a guy whose one-liner style kind of reminds me of Anthony Jeselnik, but not as good.
I asked my girlfriend to say something nice about me, and she said, well, you know, your penis is bigger than all your friends.
Okay, so next we are finally introduced to Ethan, our titular vampire, who apparently is so bad at comedy that his friends insist that you have to see this because it's so terrible. And he's really bad. It's just not funny. It doesn't even feel like it's trying to be funny. It's just sad.
I haven't seen a crowd this tight since the Venetians at the Siege of Corfu, 1716.
And I guess they weren't. I mean, they wanted to make him the worst comic, so it makes sense. When he first gets on stage, the first thing that he tells everybody is that he's a vampire. Why are you telling people that you're a vampire? And when I first saw this, I thought, oh, okay, so people in this universe know that vampires exist. This is just a thing. But no, that's not the case. Nobody believes him when he tells them this. Yeah, the whole movie he keeps telling people that he's a vampire, but nobody believes him. Okay, so he's super old, and he has picked this far-flung point in his life to prove to the world that vampires are real through the art of comedy, which he is terrible at. It seems like a bit of a risk to me, but whatever, dude, you do you. Then Pete takes the stage, and he gets some laughs, a lot of which sounds very forced. Like, I wish they would have gotten like a good backing track for that, because it sounds like, I know it's the people that are actually there doing it, and they just, because they probably had to do multiple takes, it's like, it just sounds really forced, and they probably could have did something else to mitigate that. It just sounds really fake. So Pete and Ethan get off to a bit of a rocky start. I think Ethan has been hitting on Pete's girlfriend, who is a waitress at the club. But Ethan and her are apparently just friends. So next scene, Pete is browsing porn on his computer while talking to his agent. Lovely. It's a very Louis C.K. thing to do. So while browsing this porn, he's told by his agent that he needs an opening act for his road show. And he needs to find somebody. He's already been invited to a party at Ethan's house, and he goes over to the weird creepy mansion with some really nice cars in front of it, and apparently the helicopter from Scarface. So that's cool. Whose house is this? Whose house is this? I want to know. I wish there was an establishing shot of it, because they don't show like a nice wide shot of it, so you can really see what the house looks like. I mean, the cars are cool. So now we're at the party. Ethan drags Pete away so that he can, finagle him. And there is an incest joke about Ethan's mom, which is so gross.
You bang her?
She was my mother.
You bang her?
It's not even really funny, though, and that's the problem. So Ethan shows Pete his coffin. He's still trying to tell this man that he is a vampire, and he does not believe him. He continues to not understand what is happening. Ethan is now continuously trying to convince him to let him be the opening act for his roadshow. So now it's morning time. Stephanie, who is Pete's girlfriend, is trying to convince him to let Ethan be his opener. He, of course, does, or else we wouldn't have a movie. Stephanie's personality is very blunt. She seems to be written like a Whitney Cummings type, but nothing she says is really witty or clever or interesting even. She's just kind of mean, but like they try to give her some kind of like cutesy slang that people would use in relationships, which just sounds weird and stupid to me.
Stop being a titty baby and look in the mirror. Maybe if I peruse through your texts, I'm gonna find a bunch of late night conspicuous belfies from your harlot fan club.
What's a belfie?
It's a butt selfie. Come on.
Also, side note, she's supposed to be pregnant. I swear to God, they mentioned that she's pregnant in an earlier scene, unless they were joking, but it didn't really seem like a joke. I mean, I guess that's a funny joke about drinking while you're pregnant. I don't know. Okay, so he agrees. Stephanie convinces him, and the boys set off on their adventure. First stop, of course, it's a strip club. They're performing at a strip club with 3 people in it. And then it's kind of boring in general. I mean, there's a guy kind of messing with him at the bar, but that doesn't really go anywhere. And then Pete catches Ethan injecting himself with blood in the bathroom. And then Pete thinks it's heroin, so he gives him a whole spiel about not doing drugs and how it's bad for you, and people have died. I'm a little confused by this because I do not understand why he's injecting himself with blood when in every other scene that he consumes blood, he drinks it. Why would he be injecting it? And then also, why is he standing on the sink in the bathroom instead of going into the stall? Does he want to get caught? I mean, he keeps telling everybody he's a vampire all the time on stage, telling his friends, telling everybody. So I guess he kind of does want to get caught. He wants to be burned at the stake at this point, I guess. He's tired of living, but he doesn't seem like, I don't know what is going on. So now, because he's getting this whole speech about stop doing drugs are bad. So he's like, okay, I gotta do something to get this guy off my back. So he shows him his vampire tricks that he has. And one is that he can use his thumb as a lighter and he can make his fangs grow. So his teeth are normal most of the time. And then when it's time for vampire stuff, the teeth come out. So then he's kind of like, oh, okay. He kind of believes him a little bit more, but you can kind of tell that he doesn't. Then that is over. So they're still going on their tour. So we cut to the next morning and the guys are at a radio station where they're going to promote the show that they're doing that night. While at the station assistant girl who comes out to, help them get ready for the show, she is just totally bitchy to Pete because she's seen the viral clip that I mentioned earlier and she thinks it's horrible. So she's like being rude to him and bitchy to him just because of this viral clip, apparently. So, but you know something? Now that I think about it, every single woman that's in this movie is written as either an idiot, a bitch, or a slut. There is no other type of woman in this movie. It's a bit sad, but I mean, I don't really expect like high art from this. I don't really expect fully rounded characters from this. It's just, it kind of shows the kind of hatred for women that I feel like the person who wrote this has. And it very much shows his complete disconnect with how women actually are. Okay, so next scene, I forgot to write down any more for the rest of this, so I'm just gonna wing it. I do remember what happens in the movie, so I'm just gonna go and see if hopefully I actually remember what happened. So after the radio scene, they go to another club and Pete I think he gave him a speech already, or maybe he gives it to him at the club about just be yourself on stage. How to because Ethan wants to get good and he's like, how do I get good? So he gives him a speech about being yourself. So Ethan gets on stage. Of course, he's still giving his vampire spiel and nobody is buying it. Nobody cares. So he decides, I'm going to show myself completely to these people. And he does the thumb trick with the fire and shows his fangs. Then he turns into a fucking bat and flies around the room. The effects are really bad, as you expect, but just the fact, why would you do that? Everybody expects that it's magic, but the thing is, this is about comedy. This is not David Copperfield. This is not David Blaine. I thought you were trying to do comedy here. So I don't understand why use the magic. If you're not good at comedy, the magic isn't really going to cover it up. And it doesn't. He's still not funny, which is the point of comedy. So yeah, so he's himself and it makes him feel really good. Of course, I think a moment of him turning into a bat goes viral. An old friend of Ethan, a very old friend of Ethan, 400 years old like he is, sees him at this show. She had heard about it and goes to see him. Of course, the friends hate Pete because he's old and gross. So Ethan's friend and her friend go back to his motel and for a little super awesome happy fun time. And Pete is next door in the other motel room. He starts looking at porn while it's not porn. He starts looking at images of Ethan's friend on Instagram and starts jerking off to it while he's talking to his girlfriend. Pete is a piece of shit and I hate him. I hate him so much. It's so gross. And it's not even funny. That's the thing. It's not funny. They think it's so funny. So this happens. He can hear everything through the walls. He gets a little bit miffed about that, of course. So now they have another show, and this is at some really divey place in the middle of nowhere, it seems like. There's a bachelorette party, they're performing. Pete starts telling the cowboy from the beginning, so this is pulling it back from the beginning. telling the cowboy that he has a small dick and he's fucking with him so hard. I mean, he's a comedian. You shouldn't be heckling the comedian while he's trying to perform. So, you know, I think Pete is in the right for fucking with him back. Like, I'm not gonna say he's wrong. So now we're tying back to the beginning. Okay, so one thing too, at the beginning of this movie, when this whole scene starts, when Jamie Kennedy's character is going outside, he says, yeah, it's an easy $3,000.
Trip's over, hoss. That's 3 large.
And when I'm looking at this bar, there's like 10 people in this bar, max. How is he getting paid $3,000 to perform at this club when there's nobody there? I do not understand. Even if they split it and it's $1,500 each, that seems like way too much money to me to be spending on a comedian to perform at a bar that has no customers. Like, it doesn't make any sense. But anyway, now we're tied back to the beginning part, and this is the best part of the movie. So the cowboy pulls out a gun, shoots Ethan. Of course, Ethan turns on his vampire powers and fucks this guy up royally. Jimmy J.J. Walker runs out and starts being like, oh, I saw everything, but don't you guys need to get out of here. I'll cover it up. Jimmy, what the fuck are you gonna do? You are like 70 years old. You're gonna drag this body somewhere and get rid of it somehow. I get that you want to help, but just sit down. So the guy is dead. He killed him. Now, finally, Pete believes that Ethan is a vampire. He finally fucking gets it. Turning into a bat, he was still kind of on the fence. But now that he's killed a man in front of him, he really truly believes it. So now we're on our way back to Vegas for the Russell Peters show, which is the big show. But Pete's agent has called him and told him that he is no longer going to be the opener for Russell.
Hey, Pete, it's your favorite manager. You gotta give me a call when you get a chance. I got bad news on the Russell Peters gig.
That Ethan is going to be opening for Russell and Pete is going to be opening for Ethan. And that is news that Pete does take a little hard. But he's actually not as emotional about it as I would have thought. I thought he would have been a bigger dick, but he was not. And now Pete is, of course, since he has now been convinced of Ethan's vampireness, he is trying to convince Ethan to bite him so that he can be a vampire too. There is a very dramatic scene that feels very unearned, where it is revealed that Pete has a son who died when he was only 8 years old, and it's very dramatic, but it just feels very out of place and not really earned in the grand scheme of the story. It's just like there suddenly, and there's not really any hints to that in the beginning. I feel like there should have been some foreshadowing for that. So now the boys are headed out for this last show. I don't even remember what happens at the show. I know that they go. I know they perform. I don't remember what happened at all. So after the Russell Peters show, they are driving, I guess, home or wherever. Ethan's driving the car. Pete is drunk and he's kind of fucking with Ethan. Ethan isn't able to pay attention to the road. They end up getting in a car accident. Pete is badly injured and he's begging for Ethan to bite him. And Pete is like, no, they're gonna be here. Everything's gonna be okay. Hold on, hold on. Oh my God, so dramatic. And then it cuts. We don't even get to see him bite him or anything. So then it cuts to Pete teaching a comedy class at what appears to be a hotel, but I'm not sure. And at some conference room, he's teaching this class on comedy, and some girl asks a question, and he reveals his vampirism. Pete has been bitten by Ethan and turned into a vampire. The end. Ta-da! Okay, so this movie was bad. This movie feels like a bunch of friends hanging out and shooting the shit with a budget. Unfortunately, none of that actually got to the screen for me personally. I really liked the concept when I saw the trailer, but unfortunately the execution for me has fallen a little flat. It's not good enough to be good, but it's not bad enough to be interesting. And I feel like that is the worst thing that a movie can be, is boring and uninteresting. I was really hoping for it to be better, and that's unfortunate. So that's it. Thanks for watching. My name is Pristine Black. Please like and subscribe and hit the bell for notifications if you like this video. And please leave a comment. Let me know if there's anything you'd like me to review, and I'll see you next time. Bye.